Hey everyone, this is the Spiritual AF Podcast, and I'm your host, Judd Fink. On this podcast, you'll hear about my personal journey that led me on the path to spiritual growth, the journey of my guests, and the wisdom that we've gained along the way. It's important to me to put this podcast out in hopes that the stories contained in it resonate with the listener and assist people on their own path to healing and growth. I am deeply thankful to even have the opportunity to do this. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun, guys. So let's go. And thank you so much for listening. Hey everyone, this is Spiritual AF. I'm the host, Judd Fink, and today I'm here with Anna Oesterle. She's a Reiki master, a 200-hour trained yoga instructor, and also a registered nurse. A very spiritual person. We met a couple years ago, and just been cool ever since. Yeah, you know. Mm-hmm. Anyways, like, how did you get on this spiritual path, this spiritual journey that you're on?
So, if I take it all the way back to my childhood, I remember it's always something that I've been drawn to when it comes to nature, like connecting. I would go up in this field and like just need to be away from all the people and just decompress. And I would like listen to the wind and how the weeds would blow in it and things along those lines, which was something, for whatever reason, really sticks out to me now that I'm back in living my purpose. So I became a registered nurse because I've always felt like a healer. Mm-hmm. And so I followed the allopathic avenue, which is what we're all taught over here in the West of the world. But what led me to like my grand awakening was an addiction. Mm-hmm. So in 2012, I became addicted. 2011, I became addicted to opiates. Mm-hmm. And I was prescribed a medication, and my brain loved it, and it made me feel like Superwoman, and I just started soaring through life until I didn't. It was a very quick crash. Thank God for that one. And so, like, within a year, I was in treatment trying to get help because I could no longer function. And then that led me into like learning about chakras and yoga, trying to fill these spaces, learning about addiction and how I had been taught only unhealthy coping mechanisms. And so I was trying to find healthy hobbies and new things. And I remember doing this quantum leap. And I still have like my original chakra packet. I forget what the lady's name was, but it's like these 7 videos that I bought, and it still sits in my entertainment stand. But then, and I was doing like yoga from, oh gosh, what is that guy's name? It was the Beachbody guy. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. His name escapes me, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Okay. But
Tony Horton.
That is right.
Yeah, so it was this 90-minute, super intense yoga that was all about just asana, which is just postures. But something in that just led me, like I felt amazing after doing it, right? Mm-hmm. So even just practicing the postures, asanas, which is only one limb of the 8 limbs of yoga and the yoga philosophy, it opened this path of me just learning to connect movement with breath, which does something with us. And so that led me like to my first gong meditation. And when I walked out of there, I felt high. And I was like, this is what I've been looking for my whole life in drugs and alcohol. Yeah. And it's free and it's within me. So this was just this epiphany, right?
Oh, yeah.
Huge. So I followed that for a while, and I just kind of dabbled in yoga and did it more for the exercise, but then it took me down learning about energy, and I got sidetracked. I ended up having a relapse in 2016, which lasted about a year, and then in 2017 I had a lot of things crash down around me. I lost pretty much everything, including my nursing license, and I've been sober ever since. I'll have 7 years coming up on April 20th. That's great. Yeah. So when that happened, I had another awakening, and this time it was like a huge one. It was actually the eclipse, so I'm kind of interested in what's going to happen in this April 8th, because last time, September of 2017, I ended up so I had stopped drinking and using drugs, but but I was not living a life. I was just kind of stagnant. I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here. And like, what am I supposed to be doing? So I ended up in a mental hospital. And it was this massive awakening. And I came out of there seeing signs and hearing things coming from all over. And that was probably one of the freest times of my life. My children had went to live with their dad to give me time to heal. And I was just like a gypsy soul. It was amazing. And I was listening to everything, and it like led me. I went to help with the hurricane down in Florida, down in the Keys. I went down there and did some volunteer relief. That was really cool, where I met some people, which led me to Vipassana, which is this 10-day where you practice noble silence and you meditate for like 14 hours of the day.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went and did that. That was really, really, really cool. So that led me to that, which that led me deeper into myself. And then I became, and all this time I'm doing like 12-step work and like living through a sobriety construct, I should say. And then I ended up getting Reiki 1 sort of. I had no idea what I was doing. How did I end up there? I think I went to a psychic, and she was like, you need to learn self-love. And then
I was just going to mention that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay, I know this, but how do I do that? How do you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't taught. And where I came from, like, drugs and alcohol were the answer, and everyone's sick. So, so then she gave me a contact to a holistic counselor and therapist. And then once I started seeing her, we started going deeper, but she introduced me to like essential oils, and I started learning the science behind that. I missed a really big piece, though. I'm sorry. If we go back, 2012 is when I initially got sober my first time. But 2014, my father-in-law, bless you, at the time, had gotten sick. He developed liver cancer, and he went down a rabbit hole. And so at this point, I had been a nurse just for a couple years. I graduated in 2010. So I'd just been a nurse for a couple of years, and it really wasn't what I thought it was going to be, right? But I didn't really know anything else. But he went down this rabbit hole of how to heal himself, and ended up finding out that like everything that we've been told with the allopathic medicine is a lie.
Yes.
And it's like literally just pure sickness. There is no goal to make anybody healthy. And like that was like the ground, fell out from under me. And I was like, oh my God, like,
yes,
what, And so when he showed me that, it was a paradigm shift. And that's what led me more into the spiritual world as well. And that's like a huge piece, because as a registered nurse, I am deep into the Western medicine, allopathic medicine. And that's why, for me, I think it's easier for me to view the holistic and realize how important it is, because when I started learning about essential oils, I started learning like essential oils is like basically the blood of plants. So what scientists do is they go out and they get these herbs from the earth and take them into a laboratory and copy them, and then find just the one molecule, and then they use that to make a medicine. Right? So like we are using what God made already.
Yeah.
But they're like breaking it apart, which is why there's so many side effects, because it's not working synergistically with our bodies. It's, only fixing like one piece. So that was super interesting when I started finding out about that and learning about that. And then she connected me to Reiki. I got Reiki 1, and I had no idea. I walked out of there feeling like I had been gypped. I was like, that was nothing. Like, what just happened? But that,
yeah,
it's like, I just paid all that money for what? But then I spent like a year of just kind of doing other things, working with essential oils and energy, and using the Reiki without really knowing what I was doing. And then I met my Reiki master, and I did Reiki 2, which that's what really opened me up to it. And I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. And I started getting clearer signals of my gifts, and more clear onto my spiritual path. And then I got when I got Reiki 3, the master level, that's when I really opened up and started seeing spirit, which I remember seeing as a little girl, but so terrified I would ignore them. And even now, I've learned to communicate with them a little better, but like if they're bugging me, I'll just be like, I'm not in the mood, leave me alone. And they'll go away.
Yes.
But
you may go.
please.
Yeah. Right.
So, but then also I'm like, well, if I can like see them and hear them, like I should probably be helping them because they're stuck, right?
Yeah.
But it's still hard to deal with.
Very Is hard. It? Here recently, I've learned more. I mean, I've crossed souls over myself before, and it's not as hard as you think it is. Like we overcomplicate it,
right?
You know, like I used to think I have to go in this really deep meditation and go in the like their holding place, you know, like the you know, and you don't have to do that.
So I think what happens for me is I get up in my head and I'm just like, well, am I hearing what they're saying, or that's what I think they're saying, and like I will do this whole silly thing. But I have had helped people cross over, and it was very simple and easy. It was during a massage, actually, one of my sensitive friends. And she was like, Anne, every time you come here, we deal with something. Like, I'm sorry, they're stuck to me, and obviously you too.
Yeah, bring it about.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're light to them. They're attracted to us, you know.
Yeah, because if we're open and sensitive to it.
Yeah, and you know, paying attention to how your body feels and the messages that you're getting, like when they're around and everything too. I'm sure. Do you get that?
I do. It's like somebody's physically there.
Yep.
And I'm just like, okay, just go away, please.
Or, you know,
I'm selfish. I'm like, just go away.
I do it all the time. I did it all the time. It's not like a scared thing. It's like I don't have the capacity to do this.
Correct.
Right now.
That's
you know?
Exactly. And I've been in a space like that for the past few months. So
yeah.
It may even be a year now. I don't know. A family member of my ex-husband's family, he passed away, and for probably maybe even a month after he passed away, he kept messing with me. Like stuff was happening in the house, and like I could feel it was him. And I just told him to go away. Now he hasn't come back, but I kind of feel guilty because maybe he had a message. He should have, but.
Well, it just depends on where you're at.
I was not there.
But also when I've done it, like I know other people that, you know, cross people over, and I'm like, I'm not the only one who can do this. You know, like you can go over there, you know, send them.
Go find someone else.
Go find someone else.
That's a good idea.
Know? Yeah, because it's not like you're abandoning them. You're just redirecting them.
Right.
You know. Yeah. So if you don't have the capacity, because you don't all the time, you know. Most of the time. It doesn't have to take a lot of energy to either. Like here recently, it didn't take me a lot of energy to do it. Like I used to put a ton of energy into it. You know, this deep meditation and stuff. And it's like, but in that deep meditation, like you know, you go there, you know, you travel, you know, and like seeing the faces and like experiencing the feelings and all that stuff. And you don't have to do that because that's you opening yourself up to stuff you don't even need to feel or see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think I've actually done that.
Yeah.
It's just like they've come to me and I'm like, whoa, okay. And maybe I'll take a few minutes and be like, who are you? What do you need? But like in the end, like you're dead. Let's move on. Yeah.
And the way it happened for me was I would have a dream like 2 days before or 3 days before. And it's somebody that I know, you know what I mean? Who's passed. And like, actually, it's been friends of mine that have passed.
That's really neat.
And they're like, in the dream, in those dreams, we don't always have incredibly vivid dreams, right? But in those, it's like real.
Like they're telling
they're telling me. But when they're doing it, they're trying to communicate with me, but because of where they're at, it sounds like, you know, Charlie Brown's Teacher, where it's like, wah, 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 wah. Their mouth is moving, but I can't hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like
communicate in that way anymore.
They can't communicate like that anymore. So that's why they show up in my dream. They, you know.
Yes.
So, but that's my sign to like go and do it.
Gotcha.
You know, or it was. I'll say that it was, and how I used to do it.
Okay.
You know, and now. It's more of a, you know, just I feel them, you know, and I hear. And in the past too, I had an incident where I wasn't ready, you know, to do it like how I would do it now. I was in my head very much, and I had one that was pissed at me, you know, for not doing it. And like, I got all nauseous. I got like, you know, and everything.
I
Like,
think that's the piece that can scare us is like they
Yeah.
can physically affect us if we don't hold our boundaries, right?
yeah,
Our,
Yep.
our energetic boundaries of like, you are not allowed to do this to me.
right. And then learning your protection as well. And
Right.
then like being conscious of actually doing it instead of just jumping in,
Yes.
you know, and doing this stuff, because like that is super important before you go and open yourself up to doing this shit.
Yeah, calling in your protection. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm getting better about doing that daily because we're just open all the time, you know, unless we do that. But anyhow, too, on my journey in the past, similar to yours, it was, you know, it's all trauma shit from being a kid and,
Very much.
you know, and not knowing how to navigate that as an adult.
Yeah,
And
well, we're told like the general idea is like this is bad. Like any type of spirit is negative and demonic. You know what I mean? Like in the Christian construct that's over the United States. So I think that's a piece of it. Like we're told like, oh, we're seeing these people. That means like we're witchery or something. And
Yeah.
we're, you know, we're playing in negativity, but it doesn't have to be. And it's not. Like this is what we are when we're no longer in this human form.
yeah, it's how you define it too. And you can define it however the hell you want to.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
literally everything. It doesn't matter
Yes.
what it's literally how you define anything,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, because then we put an emotion to whatever we're defining, right?
Yeah. Even like stuff like crystals and whatever, you don't have to give them the energy that they have. It's actually all within you.
Correct.
Everything is,
Correct.
you know? A lot of people don't realize that, you
Right.
know, but everything is inside of you, you know, because we are the universe,
Right.
you know, and it's nothing is outside of us. We are the creators, you know. And once you realize that and like you're supported, like in whatever you're doing, as long as you put the action in to do
Right.
whatever the hell it is, you know, your highest, whatever's for your highest good, like it'll work out. You just have to not be so, you know,
Micromanage it.
micromanage it. Just like I'm finding out too, you know, even on my journey doing this stuff, like where not being so damn hard on myself, you know,
It's huge.
like where, because being hard on yourself is just, well, it's not productive. You're just being down on yourself for shit that you're doing, but you're not seeing like a result immediately from it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's why like the consistency part and like the letting go of the outcome part as well
That's a big one, letting go
is
of the
key.
outcome.
Well, it's all patience. Like I
It
think in this
is.
lifetime, like that for many people, that's a huge lesson to learn. But for me, it's massive because like I'm like, you know, in my past, like get shit done. You know what I mean? Like move into this, like whatever. And then if you don't see if I didn't see immediate results or whatever, you know, down on myself, all this
Yes.
stuff.
It's like playing that long game. And then, yeah, and then there's almost an addictive nature to like the instant gratification, right? Especially in today's world.
But we're all so used to it now.
Yeah. Like if my phone takes longer than 3 seconds to load, I'm just like, what is happening? What is wrong?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then that leads into like everything we're doing in life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And then also going back to, you know, traumas and stuff and trying to navigate this, like where whatever happened to us in our childhoods, right? When our minds are developing and we're experiencing these traumas, like how it leads into shit like ADHD and then, you know, and stuff like that. Because ADHD is not a hereditary thing. What is hereditary is generational trauma.
right.
You know.
Right. And then it rewires our brain.
And then it rewires our brain.
Correct.
You know.
Yeah.
And mine, you know, I was very abused in many different ways, but physical, mental, and isolation. Like I was locked in my room for 2 months at a time and
Oh, God.
whatever. Yeah. And just, you know, that's taking the love away. So what does that do?
Yeah.
You know, what it does is, you know, tells you that you're not good enough, that you don't deserve that. And so my reaction to it was, you know, this hyper, you know, just driven mind where,
Right. Let me prove to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and I focused on sports is what I did because it's very fast paced and my mind is already racing all the time and I'm fucking really afraid to be at home, you know,
Anything that could keep you away.
anything that could keep me away.
Yeah.
So I really focused on that and got really good. and stuff. And even realizing that too, I wasn't even doing that for myself. I was doing that for acceptance.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and then also on top of that, where it leads into, that was an addiction, you know, like taking care of myself, like getting good at this, you know, because all my focus went into that. And then drugs, alcohol, and that addictive behavior just, you know, just made everything like that. Everything was full force.
Yes.
You know,
All or nothing, right?
all or nothing.
Yeah.
Even relationships. And then like, and then doing that, there's good parts of that.
Absolutely. If
You know?
you learn to channel it and utilize it, like, look at you now.
Awful
You know?
things.
Right?
But yeah. But there's good parts of that and there's really bad parts of it too. Because like your you know, drive and all that is actually not good for everyone. You know, because they're not there. They don't get it. And it
Right.
can be like too intense.
Intense. Oh, yeah. I know that one.
You know, and stuff. And I'm just realizing like a lot of shit. And I've realized a lot of shit in the past, but we're always learning, you know, and like correcting that part is the biggest thing.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
or you're just like forging your own trail, right?
Sure.
And like the people that can keep up will go with you, and the people that can't
Fall away don't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because what I kind of hear is like you're saying, like, well, I'm going to dim my light a little bit because it wasn't okay for these people. But that's what we do, right?
Well,
we find these people where we're too much for, and then we're like, oh, well, I need to make myself less than.
Yeah, fuck that.
Instead, we just need to keep growing and be too much and allow them to follow us or join us.
Yeah. Well, it's all, like I mentioned before, it's all inside of ourselves. And if you're not with me, you're not with me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
don't need to hold on to any of that,
Exactly.
you know? And that, you know, that's being attached,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh, I need this.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
like part of the human condition.
It is.
It
I
is.
very much understand the human condition, you know? And like, it's all about finding too, like all about telling my own story that connects with people, you
Yeah.
know, and like being super honest about it.
Yeah, when we live authentically, then people know that and you can feel it. And then it's just like, well, yeah, that makes me want to be authentic as well. Like,
Yeah.
let me open up.
Or it doesn't, or it makes you,
It's
it makes
shut
you, or it makes you, like, depending on where the individual is at, they don't want to face their own stuff because your authenticity makes them like uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think back to periods where I wasn't ready. That was probably it. But now when I see people that are being authentic, I'm like, yes, let's do that.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. It's like fuel,
Yeah.
you know, for the other person, and or not, like I said, but like that, it lets people like it lets people be given the choice to step into that freedom and not care about what other people think, because like seriously, like you just mentioned, there are so many people that are so worried about what other people think that they can't be themselves, you know.
Yeah. I fall into that sometimes.
Yeah.
Such a bad trap. Like, I was so scared to come on this because of video. I'm like, if we're just talking, that's better. But like, I have this, you know, core issue that I'm currently working through. Like, I don't want to be seen for whatever reason. And that was something that surfaced once I opened my business, Anna Prana, the healing studio, which is like a, I'm just going to slip this in.
Well, we were gonna mention it anyways, but go ahead.
Yeah. So
yeah.
my yoga studio / healing, it's a healing studio, as you know. And that was something that came up because I was like, well, I also want to make a virtual presence. But then there's this block with it. And I'm just like, I'm not, fear. It's fear of being seen, fear of being judged, fear of, all of it.
Of course.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah,
I totally understand.
Failure, fear of success.
Well, the only failure is okay.
It is okay. And I will do that every day of my life. But then I feel like I'm just on this larger platform. And then if people are looking up to me, you know, and I'm the first person to say that's just our humanness. And yet I still have these conditions inside of me.
Oh, sure. And even like there's things that like, well, you know, I don't know of a perfect example, but like, you know what to say, but you don't feel it until you get it.
Until you're doing it.
Until you're doing it.
Right.
Or like you can have this phrase and you can use it, right? But you don't know really what the fuck it means until like there's this light bulb moment for yourself.
Right. And then
You know what I
giving
mean?
advice is so much easier than actually like using your advice.
Yes.
Right?
Some people are great at that.
Yeah.
Too.
I'm really good at that.
Yeah. Yes. I've done it too. You know, I still do it in certain instances, you know?
Yeah, I do.
And because we're still human.
Absolutely. And that's where that humanness comes through.
Yeah. And it's okay. And that's the thing, like, I think in this journey too, like when we're so hard on ourselves, like, and wanting to control shit that we can't control anyways, right? Where it's like giving ourselves a bunch of grace because, or as much grace as possible, right? That we can, because like all we're doing is acting from the level of consciousness that we're at based on the lives that we've lived already.
Yeah.
You know? So how the hell are you supposed to know more than you know? You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Right? So when you look at things from that standpoint, it makes it easier to let go of those, you know, those like outcomes and like that control.
That reminds me of, I don't remember which teacher I read it from or heard it from, but it was the ego doesn't know what it can't see. Or the ego can't see what it doesn't know. It's like this block that we have.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you're saying right there.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And it's like the, what was it? I heard the path to enlightenment is lightening up on yourself.
I like that. I haven't heard that one, but I like it.
Yeah. Like, because it really is, because like it is, that's the letting go of control that leads into that too. Because like, if you're not trying to control shit, as you know, like stuff just works out.
Yeah, some of the greatest things that have happened in my life is when I've surrendered. I'm like, here you go, God.
Yeah, because you know, where your attention goes, energy flows, right? And like, as long as you're just doing it and you're not attached to whatever that is, you know, and you're doing it to, like, you love it.
Yes.
You know, you're excited about it.
Yes, having that feeling, right? They say the emotion needs to be there. So like when you're manifesting, like the emotion needs to be there.
Yes.
So that's, you can visualize all day, but you need to feel how that is.
Yes.
Once you feel it, then that's when you're putting that energy out there.
Oh yeah. And I believe exactly. And the gratitude part of it too. Like
huge.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Yes. Like thankful for every day.
Yeah.
Even if you're in the shit, be
Which
thankful
is
for that,
so
because you
difficult.
get to learn. You
right.
know?
This is a lesson that's going to lead me to more blessings, right? Yeah.
Yes. Like everything is an opportunity to learn from. So when we're able to look at things from that standpoint too, like honestly, I've said to myself before, like, well, who gives a fuck about what happens? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, okay, I get to learn, you know?
Right.
And like I mentioned before, like recognizing things more so now, because we're always learning, right? Like old patterns of mine, they're like, well, okay, that's not productive anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, this is the way I used to do things, and I see the result of that now. And like, clearly it's not good.
Right.
You know, so, but I see the action that I took, and I see the result, and now I see where I am. So correct this action, you know, go back and recognize why it's there.
Yes.
And it's always goes back to childhood shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Well, they say like with the first 7 years is what our subconscious is made of, the first 7 years of our lives. So like, it's not stuff that we know, it's not conscious, it's subconscious, but everything we're doing, we're playing on a loop unless we become self-aware and self-reflect.
Exactly.
Like you're talking about right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So everything's from childhood.
Everything.
Which is like, oh man, as a parent, I'm like, I'm sorry, kids. It's
okay, but that's their journey too.
It is. Absolutely.
It's okay. They picked you.
Yeah. Right. Right. So looking at it from that way too. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you are their parent, the parent for a reason.
Yeah. The lessons that we're supposed to learn for our soul's path. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And it's okay to fuck up.
Right.
You know, like, give yourself some grace. It's not that serious. You might think it's serious. Like,
it can be.
It can. Well, you know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's, of course, serious things happen. That's not what I'm saying. You know, but it's how you navigate that. It's all about your perspective on it.
Absolutely. Right. Like you were just saying before, like, am I going to learn from this, or am I going to allow this just to affect me for the rest of my life?
Yeah. And it's, that's also part of the letting go, your perspective on everything, because like what's happening in the current situation, whatever that is, can be deemed as negative, right? But we can't see like in the storm when it's happening.
Right.
It's when like when we actually do get to decide, when we actually come to the point of deciding in that storm, like take your breath and like it's going to be okay.
Yes.
Is when you're actually able to see those different perspectives, and
there's this acceptance is the answer to all my problems, right? Yeah.
Yes, acceptance is the answer to all my problems.
I've been in some like really heavy stuff, and like that saying would come to mind, and I'd just be like, all right, I'm accepting this. It is what it is. What's the next move?
Yeah.
And then you come out of it on the other side, always. One way or another.
One way or another.
Yeah.
Unless you gave up.
Right. Well, I mean, even giving up, like life still moves forward. There is no going backwards. There is no being stagnant. Like you are either
well, you're always learning.
Backwards or forwards.
Yes.
There is no stagnant.
There is no stagnant. Backwards or forwards or whatever.
So if you like accept it, then you can move forward. Otherwise, you just keep getting beat down.
Yeah. And some people do give up in the way of like taking their own lives, or
right.
That's what I was referring to.
Okay.
And so I got it, as you know, I've mentioned before, I get readings, from people, even though, because I can do that stuff, but like we get in our own way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because we're clouded.
People are putting in our paths for a reason.
Yep. So I got a reading, and my grandmother shared the same birthday as me. She's passed. It's been like 13 years or something like that at this point. But anyways, she came through, and because I, like I was mentioning before, like beating myself, like, not recognizing like the good things that I do, and like wanting, the outcome, like quicker than it's supposed to happen, like divine timing, right? And my grandma came through, and she was like, you need to recognize like the stuff that you do, and give yourself a lot of credit, because like she said, the stuff that you've been through, most people wouldn't be here anymore.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't recognize it as that. Like I recognize it as like giving up is like not an option.
Right.
I've definitely had points in my life where I'm ready to go. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I do. I don't know how many times I'm like, are we done yet?
Yeah. Like,
is this over?
Like, you gonna take me now?
Have I learned my lessons?
Yeah. But no, I think those, for people like you and I, or, who do go down in the depths at times, I think those moments are like paramount, because
They are.
Like, because we know what that feels like.
And if we use it right, like you were talking earlier with perspective, it'll slingshot us into like the greatest moments of our life.
Yeah. Absolutely. I remember one of the pivotal points where I was being promiscuous, right? And an addictive thing, and like I convinced myself that this person like had HIV, right? Oh
my God.
And so like, I'm like, oh my God.
I've ruined my life.
I've ruined my life, right? And I'm like, no. But then, like, how powerful our minds are, right? And I was having the body symptoms.
So you started creating these symptoms within yourself.
Yeah, and it was very real.
Yeah.
And then I kept getting tested, and negative. Like
it's got to come.
Yeah,
Stop it.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, it could take up to 6 months to show up. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, okay. But in that, I don't even think I got the 6-month test. I just did the 3-month one. And I'm like, okay, clearly I don't fucking have it,
Yeah.
But throughout that process, like, I am not sleeping. I'm losing like a ton of weight.
So you're creating this whole storm.
I'm creating it in my mind, because like I had so much guilt inside of me, and everything, because I stepped out of my marriage, and that's what happened.
Oh, okay. So you were living like you were beating yourself up. Shame and guilt, just.
Oh yeah, and just felt terrible, about all of it. And then, so I went and got some help, and I don't remember exactly what was said, but I remember what I said to myself. I was like, even if this fucking kills me, I'm going to be fine. Like, even if this takes my life, like, well, I'm going to be fine.
Right.
And like coming to that realization, like really opened it up, like to like, it is going to be okay. Like, no
Absolutely.
matter.
Everything will be.
Yep.
Speaking of mind over matter, I walked on fire, hot coals, 5 times in a row. 2019?
Yeah.
2018. On the way down here, I was just thinking, like, 2019 was a huge year for me. I did so many things. But yeah, I walked on coals. So we created this fire. We did, like, this whole walk, and we raised our energy to the level. So everything's energy. So I raised our energy to the level of this fire. And we put up these crates, and we burned them down to coals. And then we walked in a circle and, like, walked over it.
That's really cool.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have any blisters on my feet. I didn't burn myself. There was nothing. I was like one with the fire.
What?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that before.
Right. It was the fire walk.
That's
I just
really
talked to one of my friends that we did it together the other day, and she was like, I just got a message. We're sisters forged by fire. She was like, remember our fire walk? And I was like, oh my God, I forgot. I have like the ashes sitting in a cup on my dresser, and I just forget about it.
Yeah.
Like the things we are capable of doing.
Oh my gosh, it's endless.
Yeah.
It really is.
It really is.
As long as you use the energy.
And like you just use your mind. Like you are
That's
the creator.
all it is.
Right?
Yes. That is seriously all it is.
And then like I can't get on video and do a yoga set. Like what?
Like why not? That's
so crazy.
I know. Like we definitely it's much easier to hold yourself back.
Yeah. It is. You get to play small, and then it's like, well, then nobody sees me. But like, does anybody even see you anyway? Like, people only see you from the perspective they can see.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
So it doesn't matter if we're playing small or playing big.
No, and if you're playing big, like that's good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's confidence. That is loving yourself. That's giving a fuck about yourself.
Absolutely. Showing up for yourself every
day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and like. Removing those self-limiting beliefs in that process because it's routine,
right?
It's seriously, it is developing whatever that is for you, that routine. Because some people work out, some people do yoga, some people whatever,
right.
And then throughout that process too, like okay, I show up for myself in this, and now I can do this as well, and now I can do this, right. It's kind of like a confidence domino.
Yes, and that's something that yoga does for you. It shows you, like, if you consistently show up every day, you are going to see progress. And just the asana in itself, just the postures of just doing the exercise portion of it.
Yeah.
Like you start and you can't touch your toes. You stay consistent. 3 weeks from now, you're touching those toes. And it's just like this big win, right?
Yeah.
And nobody else matters. This is only you. This is you showing yourself what you can do.
Yes. Like, I started 2 weeks ago consistently. Now, and
you're doing yoga?
Yeah.
Yay! Good job.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
Like, I'm not very flexible yet.
And it's not even about that. I mean,
no.
And right, what controls your flexibility? Your mind. So, like, if you go under anesthesia, they can put your leg over your head. Your mind is what stops all of that.
Oh yeah.
That's why people come out of it sore.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So it is your brain telling you can't do that.
It's your brain telling you can't do everything.
Everything.
Right?
That is such a hard concept to grasp.
Yeah.
Like I cannot comprehend it to the level of what it is.
That's kind of funny because I have a story. Like I played baseball here in a men's league this last like August, September, and like I cracked my tibia at the bottom under my right above my ankle. Okay. A month before the first game. All right. And I'm like, there's no way I'm not fucking playing, in my mind. So, and I don't take pills or do anything like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not doing that shit. So what I did was just jam my foot in a bucket, right? Full of ice, like every day as often as I could, and got that swelling to go down. And, then it's the mind over matter thing, like, is it painful? Sure. But am I going to allow this pain to like,
stop you,
to stop me? Like, no. dove for a ball in the outfield, and my right knee hit the ground and it pushed my kneecap down, and it tore like
Oh my gosh, because you weren't listening to your body.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know. And then I was like, okay, that really hurt.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Okay, that really hurt. And I go into the dugout, and it's just immediately like, turning colors and everything and swelling up. And I still went back out there and everything and played. And I even played I didn't miss a game, and I ended up I didn't want to go to the hospital, because that's how I am, like this mind over matter. Like, I'm going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine, And I ended up draining my own knee, 20 milliliters of, blood, of fluid out of my knee. Yeah. Like just the one time.
So
But
did it heal?
it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine now. It's a little like, I can tell that it's been hurt,
Right.
but it's not like, some debilitating thing or anything. It's just like when I work out or run or whatever, it gets a little, barky, but it's, it's okay,
Yeah, I get it. That's one of the things that I say when I'm teaching yoga is listen to your body. So there's no pain in yoga. And we have to learn to listen to ourselves. And some days I can do this really cool pose. And then some days my body says no. And it's learning just to listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like, the energies of, well, spirits, like we talked about before, but even other people, like listening to your body, and that's your intuition talking,
Yes.
Absolutely. Like, and like, is this person, like for me, like, are we, like, should I be communicating with this individual?
Right. Right. How do you feel when you walk away from that
How do I feel
person?
when I walk away from that person, or even engage with them, period?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and like, and recognizing that, like, that's always trust your intuition on whatever it is, which is really difficult.
Absolutely.
Because
especially when, like you mentioned earlier, with us coming from the backgrounds that we came from, like we were not taught that anything's safe, and then growing up in like abusive, like the person that's supposed to be giving you love, like you trust this person with everything, and they're hurting you.
Yeah.
So then, like, how do you even trust, like, what's good for you?
Yeah. And then also, like, how we've been trained. So, like, growing up, an example of that would be, like, being forced to do things that we don't want to do. Like, for an example of that would be, like, hey, Judd, go hug your creepy uncle that you don't want, like, because I'm telling you to go hug your creepy uncle.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not paying attention to your feelings and your body.
Correct.
And stuff. That's training you to go against that.
Correct.
Correct. And, like, and if that's, like, your routine,
to go against how you feel inside, to ignore what you're feeling,
ignore
and
what you're feeling
to everything around you. Yeah.
And that's happening to you as your brain is developing, as you're, like, growing.
Yes.
And so, as like the first 7 years are the most important years in your brain development.
Absolutely.
So so say two more healed people, right? Not that we're fully healed ever. Right? Two more healed people, like, who have changed their DNA over time and, rerouted their brains.
Oh,
yep.
So huge.
Say that they have a kid, right? That kid has a great opportunity, to not experience the trauma and not experience all those things, and grow up very well and confident and good. And it's when the people who, get together, have kids, like, because they're not rewired, they're not doing any of that shit, they haven't done their work, or whatever. I'm not saying great people can't be born from that, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, like, they're still going to have their struggles. Not that that other kid isn't going to, but they're going to be much, much less,
and
more so, because they're going to know how to love themselves, as well.
Yeah, it's like, they talk about, like, with codependency, you pass on a baton to your children. Like, if you're living in a codependent relationship and you are codependent, then you're going to pass that baton down to the child and show them this is how you perform in relationships. This is how you respond and all the things, and it would be in an unhealthy way. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
If you're healed, you're passing that baton down to the kid, but in a healed version.
Yes, exactly. Just saying. All this stuff is, like, the coolest shit,
right?
Is it not? Like,
It is.
And we can. That's the other thing. Like, we can talk about this stuff, like, all day long, but and you can come to these realizations, but it is like reprogramming your mind and like recognizing these things as they're happening.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And being more aware. That's self-awareness.
Yeah. Well, with both of us being recovering alcoholic addicts, like that's what we did. We rewired our brain. That's legitimately what you do when you change when you break a bad habit. You are literally rewiring your brain.
Yeah.
Like neuroplasticity is a thing.
Oh yeah.
And we can change it in any way, shape, or form. Like so, trauma causes it to do it this way, and then we come in and become aware of our bad habits, and then we consistently do something over and over, which changes. It's like the way water runs down, and it creates a groove in the dirt, right? And then so when it comes down this way, it's going to follow this groove. The deeper the groove, the easier it's going to flow down. So then when we're changing habits and we're creating new ones, we're going against it, so it's hard.
Yeah.
But then we're eventually going to create that groove if we're doing it over and over again. And now the water's going to flow, and then this one's going to build up with earth again. And then it's going to be an open channel over here. And that's how our brain works.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. The description that you just did was great.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
So I'm a detox nurse. So I work in the mental health and drug and alcohol field. And so that's something I explain to people when they come in, because they're like, oh, I'm doing this again. I'm like, well, you have to keep doing this until you create that groove in your brain.
And then also like us being, the universe inside of ourselves, like, and how the universe gives you what you're vibrationally at, right? And as you, heal those things. Touched base on
vibrations yet. Well, we did a little bit when I talked about raising my vibration.
Yeah, but so as you, create these new routines and new pathways in your mind, changing your DNA in that process.
That's a deeper level. Yeah.
Because we are the universe, whatever you're driving towards at that point, you know what I mean? It will, whatever needs to come in, it'll match up with you. It'll find you, and you won't even have to try.
No.
Either.
Yeah, being in alignment.
Yeah.
Right. That's the whole surrendering and trusting that things will come to you as they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Which happened to me like when I opened my business. That was huge. Like I made the decision, I'm opening it, and next thing I know, like I'm going to lunch with a friend because I had decided I was going to market that day. And then part of it was like, yeah, I'm going to have fun doing this job. Like if I'm not having fun in my nursing career, you have to feel that excitement, that emotion, right? So I'm going to have fun. So I'm going to have lunch with my friend, and we'll chat business, because she's an entrepreneur herself and successful. And so making that decision helped me, is what made me see the sign that was in the building that I am now have my studio at. And the person ended up being a connection through somebody that I know through the 12 steps. So it's like all these healthy decisions that I had made over the past 5 years led up to this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So cool.
Like in my case, like I've been told, and I know, like it's not like things have to be my way all the time, and the people do come in to help and stuff, but like I have to do things on my own.
Yeah. Same.
You know what I mean? Like I can't be like told like you must do this and you must do that, because like I'm so like, no, I don't.
Tell me that, and I'm doing the opposite.
Yeah. Yes. Like I don't have to do it that way.
Yeah.
But I do work best on my own.
Same.
Yep.
Yep.
And like I think that, well, that goes back to childhood stuff too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My therapist was just telling me that. He was like, ask for help, Ann.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. And then also, even in this process, like where I've, gone back and asked for help in things and then not gotten that help.
Yes. So that's a huge bummer, right? Or when like things fail and we can't accept it, and we were attached to that outcome and all of that, like you were talking about before. Like,
yeah. Setting ourselves up for disappointment, because like it shows you like that ultimately you can't rely on other people. Not that you can't, you can some people, but others you cannot, so be conscious of who you're asking for help from.
Very much so. And it's, trusting like the ebbs and flows of life, of like how much is this person helping me and how much am I helping them?
Yes, it's this equal exchange. you know?
Or sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes people have come into my life and they have helped me tremendously, and I feel like I could never repay them, but like just them helping me was payment enough.
Yes.
Because whatever, like we aren't the ones orchestrating all of this, right? There's like a greater existence that's orchestrating it. So whatever, them helping me is doing something for them, and I don't even know.
Yeah. Right. It is. It's effortless.
Yeah.
Right. It's just being lined up, vibrational alignment.
Right.
You know,
Right,
and
yeah.
then letting those people come in and everything. And yeah, what do I mean letting? You don't even have to try.
No, it just happens. It just shows up.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt like when I was opening my business. Like I made that one decision, and then it was like a domino effect. Everything just fell into place, and it was all so easy. And I was like, how is this even possible? But then if I think back, it's like I've been manifesting this for years. I've been saying it for years and never made the actual decision to do it.
Yeah.
And like here, like finances were great. I had made connections that I wasn't even aware of I was going to need later in life by doing what I was supposed to be doing for myself. So
yeah.
And then all of that fell into place, so all of those times tells me I was in alignment, and that was things were happening outside of my view.
Yes. Yes.
Divine intervention.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
They'll give you the people. All the things will happen.
It is,
you know?
yeah.
And it's funny because we do get in our own head about like, oh, this doesn't feel good. Maybe I'm not in alignment. Well, you know, that's just you being in your own head about it, you know, and going back to the self-limiting beliefs and all that stuff, you know,
that are so hard to break through because they're subconscious, you know?
Yes.
And so they have to be brought up to us consciously. And I don't even know how that happens. I guess meditation's huge.
Meditation is huge. And there's so many different forms of it too.
Oh, so many.
Yes.
So like I've been practicing for the past, I think I'm coming up on 2 years now. Well, I forgot what it's called.
It doesn't matter. There's so many different ones.
Darn it. That word finder doesn't work in my brain sometimes.
It's all right. Can you describe it?
It's where I say a mantra.
Okay.
So I was trained by some lady, and we did this little ritual, and they gave me a mantra, and then I just repeat that over and over again.
Okay. Like,
oh, I can't remember what it's called. It's very popular, like with celebrities.
I see. I'm not familiar.
Like Oprah does it, and maybe Jim Carrey does it. Which I was not aware of. I started going to this school, Maharishi something institute over in Iowa, and that was one of the things you had to do. You had to become taught and practice this daily because it's like a consciousness-based school.
Okay.
I cannot believe I can't think of that. It'll come to me. Let's talk about something else, and it'll come back.
Yeah. So. And me too, like I'm just gonna, being the person you want to become through your routines and stuff like you're describing, you know, also with the vibrational alignment and all that stuff, like you were taking the steps to do it.
And not even knowing it. Right. So I was just taking steps in that moment of like, this is what I need to do right now to help me. But then doing those little steps led up to this bigger picture of like, now you've created this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was not even aware. It was something I had thought about, like, oh yeah, someday I'm going to own a yoga studio. I'm going to be a yoga instructor.
Yeah.
But then, like...
I get it. Like, and even when I was married, because I didn't want to be a mechanic. Like, it was never, like, a passion of mine. It was just like, okay, I can do this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I really could give a shit about it, you know, but it paid bills.
Right.
Right? And... I was asked by my ex, she was like, well, what is it that you do want to do? And I was like, man, I'd love to coach people. I'd love to coach kids and, you know, like develop that stuff. So even then, like me saying, you know, that.
Putting it out there.
Yeah.
Deciding what you really wanted to do.
Yeah. You know, it's like, well, in some form it's helping people, you know.
Absolutely.
Like that's what it is. Like me working on a bus. Even though, the bus, you know, like gets people to where they're going and helps them and does all that stuff. Like that is not like my version of helping people. That's like secondhand,
But it is.
or whatever. It is helping people, yeah. But like
still service.
It's still service. It is, but I had to throw that away. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And
which is huge.
Yeah, big decision.
Big jump. Yeah.
Yep. But
yeah, good for you.
It was in the process. Well, I think like my life was totally changing anyways, so it was just like, well, may as well let it go.
You have to let it go to open up the doors for something new, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so also, who do you like, commonly listen to? You know what I'm saying? Like
for music?
No, not for music.
For podcasts?
No.
I'm sorry, I'll stop trying to give you the words.
No, for like, like a Wayne Dyer or a Bashar or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Like a spiritual teacher.
Like a spiritual teacher. Exactly.
So I've listened to Renee Brown. There's another one, and I can't remember now. I think my brain's shutting down on me, Judd.
Is it? Is it?
I feel like it. Why can't I think about the meditation I do every day?
Yeah.
Every day I do this, and I can't even remember what it's called. Maybe I'm not supposed to tell people what it's called.
Maybe not. That's okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, and then there's another one that always talks about, like, everything is right now, and she talks about the vortex, and she channels.
Abraham Hicks?
Yes, thank you. Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
That's a huge one I listen to. And most of the stuff she says, my brain is like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, what? I mean, yeah, it makes sense, but what?
But how?
Do that.
But how? Yes. Exactly. And then
and then our answer would be, it's just so simple. You just do this.
It's simple, but we complicate it.
Oh my God.
We complicate everything. Like, it's like what we love to do is complicate everything. Yeah. Complicate all the simple stuff. But it's all about controlling everything. That's what we're all about, because of how we're programmed and everything. But I think, through the process of life, depending on like your growth, where you're at, it does get easier. Like it does. It can. It can.
If you do the hard stuff sometimes, right?
Yes, if you do the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And the universe gives you like whatever it is, that you desire, like as long as you are in the routine. It, like you break an old habit and the universe sees that and that you're vibrationally lined up with whatever that is, whatever you're working towards, whatever you've thought of before. That's why the visualizations in the past and the things that you've said in the past and all those things.
Right.
Like your purpose, whatever that is. Because everyone knows, but they don't know if they will. You know what I mean?
You have to listen.
You have to listen.
You have to learn how to listen. I know for me, I had to learn how.
Oh,
Which is still very hard sometimes.
Well, yeah, because we block ourselves,
Absolutely.
Without trusting. But, so where is, you want to let people know where Anna Prana is?
So Anna Prana Healing Studio is in Pekin, Illinois. And I also practice Reiki out of there. And then I have a few other practitioners. I have a couple talk therapy counselors. One of them is also a yoga instructor. And then I have a massage therapist in there and then another Reiki practitioner.
Awesome. How do people get in contact with you?
AnnaPranaHealing.com is my website. And then I am on Facebook, which is also Anna Prana Healing. Working on Instagram. And I'm working on becoming more involved in like the virtual world. So that's my goal this year, is to have more of a presence online. Yeah,
that's a process.
It is a process.
Yeah, learning all that stuff too.
Yeah, for me it's more of, I think I've learned it. I've taken like lots of different avenues to do it, and I've learned so much, like marketing and all of this, but it's actually doing it and putting myself out there so like coming here and doing this is like a huge step for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome though.
Yeah.
Right?
It is, yeah, and it hasn't really even been that bad, but like the thoughts in my head about it was like...
Hasn't. It's just us talking.
It is.
Yeah, that's literally all it is.
Right.
But we can overthink things.
Everything.
Everything.
Like this stupid meditation.
What is it called?
What is it
What is it
called?
You want to? We like to pull a card here.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, at the end.
I just had Vipassana trapped in my head, and that is one form of meditation. So, here, let me pull this out. I got the Moon Magic book deck card.
All right.
This microphone. Well, that was easy. Moon Dancer, number 15.
All right.
She just jumped out of there. Celebration, gratitude, and movement.
There you go.
Funny. There is something so magical about dancing by the light of the moon in the silvery shadows she creates. It is whimsical, enchanting, and romantic. And whether you dance with a partner or by yourself, it is a form of celebration. The witches of old knew this, and modern-day covens often gather outdoors at full moons to celebrate the lunar goddess. So yeah, we do that, full moon.
Yeah.
Full moon celebrations. Traditionally, they would dance sky-clad or naked, but you don't need to prance around in your birthday suit if you don't want to. Nevertheless, the Moon Dancer card is urging you to celebrate. Celebrate your life, your existence, your family, your relationships, your career. Celebrate your health, your wealth, and happiness. Celebration is a form of gratitude, and when this card comes up, it is reminding you to celebrate every little win. Because if we fail to celebrate the small victories, the big ones might never come. If you want to dance under the moon, you can. But the real message of this card is that you should ensure you are making every milestone of your life with a celebration of some kind. So pour a glass of wine or juice, I'll take juice, and take it outside to toast the moon in celebration of your latest victory, whatever it may be. And it's page number 84.
Awesome.
84, 12, 3. Number 3, that's my number.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, thanks for coming on here.
Thank
this is really good.
you for having me, Judd.
Oh, my gosh.
It's going to be interesting to listen to it. I feel like we're both just ADHD over here.
Who cares?
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's
like
touched on everything.
Yeah, we touched a little bit on everything, I
Yeah.
think. So, anyways, this has been Spiritual AF. Anna Oesterle, yes, and what a great conversation. Oh, thank you. And namaste.